Hey guys, Frank DA. So we're going to do a new video today. As you saw on the page, one of our diggers had given me a beautiful Civil War South Carolina state button. So we're going to, we still get questions up on the page, and people are still a little bit hesitant to delve into electrolysis. And of course we get people that give their input about how electrolysis is going to destroy your coin, destroy your relics. That is simply not the case. Okay, if electrolysis is done properly, it cannot, physically impossible to hurt, damage these artifacts, relics, coins, etc. So once again, we're going to prove it. This is an awesome button, and we looked at it up on eBay and some of the auction sites, and she sells anywhere from $100 to $300. So we're going to show you how to stabilize it. Even if you don't want to bring any color up on it, stabilizing it stops the metallurgic breakdown. When these things come out of the ground and they touch the oxygen in the air, they start to accelerate the breakdown process. 100 years from now, they won't be here. They're disintegrating away. When they hit the air, it accelerates that process. So what electrolysis do first and foremost is stabilizes it. And we're going to show you how to do exactly that. So if you did nothing else to this button, 100 years, 200 years from now, it's still going to be here because we have stabilized the metal. After that, we're going to show you general cleaning, which will bring up some of whatever natural color is left. A lot of the color leaches into the ground, is sitting there. And then finally, we're going to plate it. We're going to gold plate without using gold. We did a video a few weeks ago, and because of my incredible skills with my computer, it's gone. We can't find it. So we're going to do that again and show you how to gold plate this button without using gold. The common misconception: relics are not like coins. If you clean a coin and it's noticeably cleaned, it loses its value. If you ever want to see how cleaning a relic doesn't hurt its value, go into a museum. We actually have about a dozen of our units in various museums and in college campuses, and they have entire staffs of people that do nothing but preserve these artifacts. And preservation in a museum is another word for cleaning and polishing and treating it to stop the aging process. So it's not quite the same thing when it comes to relics as it is for coins. So we're going to show you how to do this. We're going to turn this into a beauty, and we'll be back shortly. Okay, guys, so we're setting up our table, and I'm going to show you everything that you're going to need to complete this process. You should need nothing else other than what you see on this table. So we'll start off with our unit. We are using the electrolysis unit, the N series that we make here. You can use the basic unit. You can use a homemade unit. It doesn't matter. The theory is all going to be the same. We just happen to be using the N series because we're going to have to change our voltage to a higher voltage down the road when we plate. So this makes it easy for us. Your tank. This is the size tank I like to use for this. I have about a teaspoon of my brine solution in there. I haven't mixed the water in yet. You're going to need 9-volt power source, which I recommend to start with. And I'm going to finish the process out with a 12-volt and a 9-volt. We'll show you what that entails. Your catalyst metal. We're starting off with carbon. Carbon is awesome. It does not plate. It only cleans and stabilizes. And then we'll be finishing the process off with a piece of silver. This is a gigantic piece of my scrap silver. It's not real pretty because I use it in electrolysis often. And I have a chewed up Indian head penny over there that I use as another catalyst measure. That's it. Oh, okay. You need a bristle brush. This is a nylon bristle brush. And you will need a metal brush, brass metal brush, not steel. Has to be brass. Brass is soft. Brass will float over top of the item without damaging it. If you use a steel brush, you'll still get a shiny color, but you'll chew the heck out of the button. And that's about it. That's pretty much all you're going to need to complete this process. It will not be a fast process. We don't want it to be fast. We want it to be thorough. We want the button to come out of this ready for display. When I'm done with this button, I want it to be able to be put into a museum if that was the case. So give me a few minutes. I'm going to show you how to set everything up, and we'll start cooking. Okay, so we are pretty much set up and getting ready to start. First and foremost, guys, let me tell you that before you put your relic in here, now we've already done it, take your button, your coin, preferably not too hard with your coins, but your relics, your coins, whatever, with a nylon brush, just gently take away as much as the loose debris and dirt as you can. Anything that is not natural to this coin is going to inhibit the flow of electricity. And the easier the flow is, the more effective the electrolysis will be on the coin. Okay, so once you have it relatively clean, get the loose debris off it, we're ready to set up our tank. Our tank has, this is the tank that I prefer. We have about a teaspoon of brine solution in here, enough to cover the relic, and not so far up where our alligator clip is touching on the catalyst side. So we pop our relic in there, and we use a little clamp to keep them from floating around and possibly touching each other. Our catalyst, again, is a piece of carbon, and we lock that down too so it doesn't float around on us. Okay, now, for those of you that are using the N-Series electrolysis unit that we build over at Detect America, this is where you have to hook one of your leads to the external power supply. Connect the lead between the two, that shuts off the external source and allows you to start off with only using a 9-volt battery. And that basically turns this into a basic unit, and that's where we want to start. So we're going to plug in our battery. Now, we have our button in the tank. We have our catalyst metal in the tank. We have our power source hooked up. And one button operation, guys. And you can see it's lighting up. We're running at just around 8 volts. You lose about a volt to the system, to the wires, to the water. The more brine solution, the hotter your brine solution is, the more it's going to conduct that voltage across, but also we want the brine solution to inhibit it a little bit. We don't want 100% of the current impacting on our target. That's why we put EMAG coils in here that also helps in resisting the flow of electricity. So, as long as that light lights up, electrolysis is taking place. And I'll give you a quick shot. We don't have any bubbles. I wouldn't expect any bubbles. And now we're just going to let it sit. Right now we're doing nothing but low, slow cooking of this coin, of this button, because we're stabilizing the metal. We're going to let it cook until I'm comfortable that the metal has stopped the breakdown, and that will be when the patina starts to come off it. We start to see some of the color, whether it's the color it was new or the color that's under the patina, whatever that may be. Once that happens, we know we're stable, and then we'll show you shortly the next steps in stabilizing, cleaning, and plating this button. Okay, guys, so we've been cooking for probably a good solid, hour, about maybe hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. So at this point, there's little discoloration in the water, not even a whole lot of discoloration. We're cooking it very, very slow. So what we're going to do at this point, we're going to take it out and we're going to show you the process, because we want, at the end of the day, we don't just want to stabilize this one. This is going to be in a display. So we're going to bring color back to it, which means ultimately we're going to have to plate it. And this is where all my coin and relic guys lose their mind. But trust me, 25 years, East Coast Archeo, Detect America have been doing this, and we've been doing it on the dime of some pretty big universities. This is the only way to bring the color back. Now, there's recent posts on the page where someone cleaned a similar button with the toothbrush and the toothpick and no electrolysis. If you can clean this relic with a toothpick and the color is there, there's absolutely no reason to electrolyze it. We don't put these things in electrolysis because we just love to cook the stuff and we love to see the color come up. We put it in because the items have reached what we call critical mass breakdown. That means they're breaking down faster and faster every day, and they've reached the point that there's no stopping the molecular breakdown of the metal. The only way you can arrest that process is by two ways. One is extreme heat, which on a hollow button like this will explode the button. It cannot take the heat. Or electrolysis. And what electrolysis does is it sends electricity back into the molecules where the little neutrons and electrons are slowing down and things are falling apart. It rejuvenates them. It binds the metal back together. It makes it strong. It stops rust. It stops the breakdown. And a side effect, a byproduct of electrolysis, is the fact that you can bring color back and you can plate with it. And that's for display purposes. That's what we do. And any of you guys that think the museums aren't doing this, you are sadly mistaken. They do it on a regular basis. And how do I know? Because I've sold a dozen of these things to museums. So we pulled it out of the tank for our first cookie. Now, the first 1 or 2 times that we do this, and we're going to do this several times over the course of the next 24 hours. The first time we do it, let's say the first couple of times, I can see already that we're actually getting some really good detail. And we actually have a little bit of color popping through. That's natural. That's from the button itself. But we're going to clean it gently with a nylon brush. Your first 2 times out, maybe even 3 times out, you're going to gently rub it with a nylon brush. This is going to take off a lot of settling debris, which may have come from the tank. And the friction, which is very, very mild because we're doing it wet, but the friction prepares the molecules on the surface. The metal has been electrolyzed on the surface. Left to its own devices, that metal will kind of turn black and charry looking. The only way to make it bring the color back up and to accept the new metals that we're going to be putting on it when we plate it is to kind of cause a little bit of friction over that cured metal, the metal that we've already kind of processed. So the first 2 times out, we're going to just do it with a nylon brush. After that, once we know it's becoming more secure and more stable, we're going to do it with a brass brush. And I know everybody's squinting and going crazy, but trust me, there is no other way to preserve and to actually bring this thing back to life and stabilize it for another 100 years. So we've done that. The water is still clean enough. We're going to agitate it a little bit just to make sure the salt is floating around nice and equally. And then we are going to pop it back in. Okay guys, well, real quick, I just want to pull it out after about another hour of cooking, and this is with no brushing after the first one. Just wanted to give you an idea of how the color is starting to come up now. Now, we're not using any plating metals. We're simply still using the carbon, so we're bringing up natural color that was in this button still. It's looking pretty awesome. So we're going to continue this a few more times. We're going to start a light brush on the wet button with a brass brush to activate the molecules of the electrolyzed molecules. Let them bring those pieces of metal, activate them and prepare them for the new metal when we plate for the color. And we'll be back shortly. I'll kind of montage this video over the next few hours just to show you what we're doing, and then when we take the next step, I'll show you exactly in detail what's going on. Okay, at this point, guys, what we're going to do now is, let me show you the button. There's several cooks, low voltage, 9 volts, and I'm going to show you the color that's coming out almost on its own. It's actually very nice. Okay, so now we know, because the color is revealing itself, we know that we're very stable. So at this point in time, we're going to try and bring the color up to it and get a gold tone to it, like that shiny brass, what it was like when it was new. So what we're going to do now, we're going to change out our power pack. We have removed the jump wire on this for the N series only. If you're not using the N series or the basic, then at this point in time, you kind of want to jump your voltage a little bit. If you have a 12-volt power pack, now would be the time to go to your higher voltages. On the N series, we're removing the jump cable that shuts off the power pack input, and we're attaching to that our 12-volt power pack plus the 9 volt. So we're going to be operating, these have been used a couple times, so we're probably going to be operating at about 17 volts, maybe 18 volts if we're lucky. Again, with very, very low amperage. The current's still only running maybe a hair above a half an amp. So it's going to be more voltage, it's going to carry more material to the coin, but it's not going to attach it very rigorously because we're only driving it with a half an amp. So we're going to hook up change your wood around at this point, make sure your wood is nice and clean. We're going to hook our button back up to it. We're going to drop that in. And at this point, I want to start to bring color to the button. So I'm going to change out my carbon catalyst to my silver catalyst, and we're going to attach to the silver catalyst a wheat penny, an old copper wheat penny. We're going to attach them together. And that will go on our catalyst side of the circuit. Okay, so you can see we have our silver, which is the big coin, and our copper, which is our wheat penny, attached to the same catalyst side of the circuit. This is going to give us that goldish tone. Now, as we go, I may find it's turning too silvery. I'll remove the silver coin. If I think it's looking too coppery, I'll take away the copper coin. And this is how we tweak the color till we get it right where we want it. So we're going to drop it back in the tank. Let me shut this off. We're going to drop it back in the tank. Again, we're trying to avoid having our alligator clip touching. Let me zoom in on that there. Okay, so we have and we'll lock them into the two corners. We just don't want it to get bumped and then have, the two ends of the circuit, the two poles come in contact with each other. It's the surest way of burning a chunk out of your coin. As long as they're separate, you're running low voltages, all is good, and it's going to start to finish curing the metal and tweaking the color. Okay, so we have our two power packs hooked up, our silver copper catalyst in one corner, our button in the other corner, one touch operation, boom. And we're actually running about 19.5 volts. That's actually going to drop off, but remember, we're running 19.5 volts with almost no amperage, so it's not going to be pounding. You're still not going to see a lot of bubbles off this off this button, until it's near the finished process. When it's just about done, it'll probably have bubbles coming off it once it's completely cured and there's no impedance to the electricity flowing through it. So that's it, guys. We're going to let her cook now. Probably an hour at a shot. We'll check on it periodically. Now, at this point, when you remove the coin to change your tank out and to brush it off, we're going to go to the brass brush. Okay? And everybody wants to know, well, how come I have to use a brass brush? Brass can be electrified, but it cannot be magnetized. At this point, while the button is getting more and more cured, the electricity is flowing through it more easily. The dark matter that may attach itself to it coming out of the tank may be magnetized. So, in addition to activating the surface metal so that it's prepared for the plating, we're also demagnetizing the crap that may settle on top of it, and we're just getting rid of it. That's why it's important to do this after every single step. And you'll see, every time you do this step, the plating, the color will take better the next session and quicker. It'll become more efficient and work at a much faster pace. So we're cooking, we're dropped down now to about 18.8 volts. We're going to let this go for an hour. We're going to come back and we'll give it a quick wash off, change out the tank, show you what it looks like, and go back in for another session. Okay, well, good morning. We let it cook overnight. Just to give you an update of where we are at this point. We cooked it enough to the button started to reveal its own color. At that point, we knew it was stable. We upped the voltage to we were running around 17 volts, 18 volts with the N series electrolysis unit. We cooked it that way for about an hour using silver and copper as our catalyst, as now we're trying to build color for the display purposes, and we want to keep the color as original as we can. So I did that for about an hour. The color started to come up, and it was time to shut down the shop and basically go to bed. So I ran it with silver and copper with a 9-volt battery only, which was actually only running at about 5.5 to 6 volts. Ran it overnight. Took it out first thing this morning. We gave it a light wash, and this is where we are so far. Now, a lot of people are saying, "Wow, it looks great." Stop right there. It's a little deceiving with the yellowish lights in the studio. It's a little more yellow tone on the video than it actually is. We have a little bit too much silver in it, which is a win-win for us because silver is the ultimate base to plate to. We're going to tweak the color beautiful now, and when we're done, it's going to look like a gold-plated button. It is extremely cured and stable. If I was to stop right now, this button is going to last another 100 years to 200 years. And there's a ton of detail on it. We really hit a home run with this button. So give me a minute, and we're going to come back. I'm going to show you how we're going to tweak the color up from a silvery tone and try and pull out that gold tone on it. And we will pretty much finish out this button. So give me a few minutes. We'll be right back. Okay, guys, so we are about 16, 18 hours into this cook. Very low, very slow, because this is an artifact, a relic that we know has some value to it. And for museum purposes, for display purposes, when it comes to a relic like this, preservation and restoration will actually add to its value as long as it's done properly. So, we cooked it overnight with the 9-volt with a copper and silver mixture. Now, when we took it out, I'll show you. You can see it or not. We are way heavy on the silver side. Now, the button is cooked amazingly, and I'll throw up. We'll go to it now. I'm going to throw up a couple pictures of the scans to show you the detail that came out is amazing. But because of the lack of the brass color that was left in the tin, the silver really took over. I didn't have enough copper in the mix to bring up the copper color, so that's what we got stuck with right now. So what we're going to do is, but the good thing about it is because this is silver, I mean it's actually silver, we have silver plating this right now, it's going to take the other colors very, very well. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it back in the tank. We are completely stable. The button is totally secure. If we stopped right now, this button will be around for 200 years. But now we're going to oversize our copper. We're going to throw more copper into the mix than silver. In fact, we're going to start off with no silver at all now. We're going to slowly bring up the copper color. And we're going to do this with higher voltages because we know we are secure. It doesn't matter if the electrolysis penetrates to the core now, because we know the core is cooked. So we're going to throw it back in. Let's see if I can show you what we've got going on here. Now, my coin guys, don't get all upset with me. That's a large cent, guys. And I keep a couple really toasted large cents around just for the copper content. They're nice and thick and big, so it throws a lot of copper into our solution. So we're going to our catalyst side is going to be a copper large cent, and we're going to throw our button back in using just copper. Now, we're going to be cooking this right now at the higher voltages. So as you can see, we are in the range of 18 volts. Very low amperage, half amp, maybe a hair above a half an amp. So we're safe that way, but we're going to cook it at 18 volts, short bursts now. We're going to cook it for probably, I would say, no more than 15 to 30 minutes at a shot, and 30 minutes being a long time. I'm probably going to be checking on it at the 10-minute mark. I'll probably be pulling it, changing the water, and giving it the light brush at the 15-minute mark, and I'll show you how quickly this is going to take. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, guys, so we've got that coin cooking with the silver and copper combination back and forth now for a while. So real quick, I want to rehash what we've gone over so far, and again, questions a lot about explaining why the lower voltages, the lower amperages versus the high. High gets bubbles and gets reaction very quickly. So this is basically the reason why we do that. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you to my artistic talents here. Okay, so picture your coin. Let's call it a large set, whatever you want to call it. Picture your coin on its edge. We're looking at it from the side. Okay, and this is going to be your coin. This is a side view of your coin. And this is your carbon. So we know we have the positive side of our circuit going into the carbon, the negative side going into the coin. As it discharges, let's call it 5 volts. We're going to go very, very low and slow, kind of what we started with this, low voltage. It's the current is pushing the particles from your catalyst metal, whether it be carbon, whether it be copper, whether it be silver, and it is electrifying, kind of recharging the molecules contained in your coin. We know that when we dig up coins that are breaking down, they're kind of rusting away, so to speak, we know that the core is degrading. When the molecules of the core can't hold the coin together, the coin starts to fall apart. We start to get E-grade, loss of your detail, ground action wipes it away. So what the molecules are doing, what the electricity is doing is it's kind of rejuvenating the electricity in here. And the slower it goes, if you watch your coin, the slower it goes, you can actually see it cooking from the end closest to your carbon, closest to your catalyst, and working its way across. That's what you want to see, nice and slow, progressing across the coin. What happens when we put high voltage in? Okay, so let's say we changed our voltage. Let's say we started this process off, and we're running 12 volts with, 1 amp of electricity. What happens is this current is going at a much faster rate. It's pushing these elements to the coin very, very quickly. The coin can't absorb it fast enough. So what happens is it takes the path of least resistance. The electricity starts to go up, hits this, and goes up and around the outside of the coin. Up and around the outside of the coin. And you know that because this gets real shiny. Your outside edges of your coin get very shiny very, very fast. So in 5 or 10 minutes, you think your coin's done. Oh, the sides are nice and shiny. But what happened was it never got into here. So now you've shined up the edges. All the surface areas are nice and shiny and clean. This is still rotting away inside, and it's like capping a boiling pot of water. Eventually, this is going to want to come out. And by the time you start to see it coming through the shiny edges you've created, it's too late. The guts of that coin are done. You can't arrest that process. It's over. So why do we go low and slow? Because it's electrolyzing everything all the way through the center, and it takes much longer. But when it's done, when you get to the edge, the surfaces, the core, everything is treated. It may not look as new as when it was stamped, but it's going to last that long. You'll get another 100, 200 years out of this coin before you ever have to worry about it again, if you ever have to worry about it again. So that's why we go low and slow. Low voltage, low amperage, penetrates much slower, but penetrates to the core. The coin, the molecules, the matter that makes up this coin can absorb and process this electricity at a slower pace. Too fast, goes around the edges, never cooks the inside of the coin. This looks real pretty on the outside, but the inside rots away and eventually is going to hurt your coin. So that's why we do the low and slow process, and I hope that clarifies it for you a little bit. Okay guys, well you can kind of see what my desk looks like after 24 hours of cooking something. But anyway, this is our final step. We are pretty much in the 24th hour of this. This thing just about took 24 hours to complete. And we've gone back to the higher voltage with the copper and the silver. I like the color, and I'm finishing it up with a little bit of silver just to bring up a little bit of glow. The silver kind of enhances it, kind of makes it a little bit more brilliant. So about a minute or 2 minutes at 18 volts with the silver, and we're going to pull it out. One of the things I wanted to show you, after you know you've got the button really cooked well, even after you put it in back into the tank, it's not going to come out that dark color anymore. What happens is we've cooked it so much, it's so cured now that, and we've cooked it with silver and with carbon and with coppers. And even though these metals have an electronic quality to them, they don't have a magnetic quality to them. So the debris that may get magnetized and stick to this thing early on can't do it now. And this is before we brush it, just to give you an idea of where we're at with the color. It's just about where I want. There is a little bit of debris on it from the tank, floating in the tank. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give it a quick rinse. This is just plain water and a little jewelry solution. And we'll just buff that off a little bit. Now, while it's wet, let me if I pulled back all the way. Okay, so while it's wet, we put a little bit of toothpaste on it. Remember, guys, you have to do this while it's wet, although with buttons, if a button is scratched up, if you have some scratches on the surface, you can do it a little bit more dry. It's kind of like jewelry. It's going to polish it a little bit. We don't do it dry with coins, but on relics and artifacts, sometimes I'll do it dry just to kind of smooth it out. This one has tremendous detail, so I'm going to keep it wet and just polish it off a little bit and get some color up and smooth out some of the very few rough details that might be on it from the ground. And you see, we're just very basic toothpaste. Now we're going to stick it back in the water. And we'll give it a little dry here. And there's our button, guys. It's not, I don't have the lights directly on it. I'll scan it and show you. It's extremely brilliant, tremendous detail. It's completely cured and secure. It's going to last forever at this point. And that's how we do it. So again, any questions, you hit me up on the page. You can email me at detectamerica@aol.com or PM me at Detect America on Facebook. All right, guys, so that's it. Get out there and cook. And keep detecting, America.